For anybody, it's a secret that some athletes use doping to improve their performance. They use medical stuff that is prohibited by the sports authorities. But for we to understand better this theme, we need to talk to an expert. That's why I want to welcome the Senior Manager Media Relations of WADA, Terence O'Rourke. Hi, Terence. Terence, first of all, is WADA winning the fight against doping?
Well, that's a very good question. As well as catching athletes when they have taken performance-enhancing substances, our challenge is to try and prevent them from taking them in the first place. And to this end, we have an increasing education programs in place and lots of education tools which our signatories, anti-doping organisations around the world, can use. It's very important that young athletes, in particular, when they are going through their athletic career and are perhaps exposed to doping, they are in a position to make the right judgment, and that judgment obviously is not to take drugs. To do that, they have to be aware of what the options are, and they have to be able to make decisions based on genuine values.
How can the different sport associations around the world can help WADA?
Well, the way WADA is created is that we have stakeholders which are made up of governments and sport from around the world. Our stakeholders are 50% government and 50% sport. And so all the major international federations around the world have their own anti-doping organisations. What WADA is a regulatory body which puts in place processes and regulations and programs which these anti-doping organisations can then follow. Our experience is that every country and every sport has a certain risk of doping, and we encourage as many governments and as many sports federations as possible to enhance their programs.
Now that we're talking about who is part of WADA, do you think WADA have enough resources to fight doping?
I mean, that's a difficult question. I think, like all bodies around the world, we would like more funding. However, we recognise that the world's financial situation at the moment is not strong. There's a lot of areas in the world where the economies are struggling. But certainly the problem of doping in sport is a major issue, and it's one which is on the rise, and so we would like funding which reflects that problem.
Science and pharmacology are becoming more sophisticated nowadays. It's hard to step on the dopers.
Yes, it is. The challenge that WADA has is that the science behind the athletes who choose to dope, and those athletes are often supported by scientists, by doctors, by coaches and various other members of their entourage. That science is very sophisticated, and in order to be able to detect the athletes, put in place detection methods, we need to have very sophisticated science as well. The reality is that a successful sports person these days can make lots and lots of money, and when there is that temptation, or when there is that opportunity to earn money, there is always temptations to cheat. So WADA is putting in place a number of partnerships that it has with pharmaceutical companies, whereby when they release a medicine onto the market, they will give WADA as much information as possible so that we can develop detection methods to try and stop athletes from abusing it.
We have seen in sports that sometimes athletes, by their bodies, produce a lot of testosterone. It's that much that it seems to be doped. Why or how do WADA treat these cases? Because they're not doped all the time.
Okay, I'm not a scientist, but what I know is that when an athlete has introduced processed testosterone into their body, then the test for that is not testing the natural testosterone in the body. And so there are methods of detecting whether somebody has put testosterone in that's not naturally produced.
There's another very famous case is the Hope Solo, goalkeeper of the U.S. American team. She drinks some pills that contain a non-accepted issue.
Yeah.
Why she wasn't sanctioned?
Okay. There is a problem with some athletes who inadvertently ingest substances which are prohibited into their body. We warn athletes on a regular basis to be very careful what they drink and what they eat, and in particular not to take supplements, because supplements are not regulated. Within the World Anti-Doping Code and within the prohibited list, there are substances which are either non-specified or specified. If a substance is classed as specified, it effectively means that if an athlete can prove that that substance got into their body inadvertently, then their sanction can be reduced, or it can even end up as just a warning. The reality is that it does happen sometimes, and WADA acknowledges that, and it's reflected in the report.
One of the most famous cases about doping in athletes was the Maradona one in 1994. He gave positive because of cocaine.
Yes.
Why was he sanctioned if cocaine is known as a relaxing and known as an improvement in performance?
Well, that case in 1994 was before WADA was created, so cocaine is prohibited now. I'll tell you what the situation is with it now. It's prohibited on the list because it is effectively performance enhancing in certain sports, in certain situations. For a substance to get on the list, it has to be considered performance enhancing, a risk to the athlete's health, and against the spirit of sport. And cocaine is a stimulant that can help your performance. It is also injurious to your health, it's not good for your health, and it's also against the spirit of sport. So that is why it is prohibited.
For last but not least, do you think there's a link between doping and organizing crime?
Very much so, and there is increasing evidence to suggest such. WADA has in place a partnership with Interpol, which is the International Police Organisation, and they have evidence that the underworld figures who are involved in trafficking of drugs and in corruption and illegal betting are also those who are involved in the supply and trafficking of performance-enhancing substances. It's an issue which sport on the whole has to address, and it's something which WADA is very conscious of.
Terence, thank you very much for being today with us. It's very important for us to know a little bit more of what WADA is doing for the sport today on.